What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Last week on April 30th, Metal Gear Solid fans were having a lot of fun posting up memes and images celebrating the day. But as that was happening, a crazy leak was dropped online out of nowhere, and it has the modding community going through it. And we're going to look at exactly what happened with all that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about GameStop, as the situation with them and eBay has taken a serious turn, with a proposal actually being issued last night as to how they are going to buy, or they think they're going to buy, eBay, which is, just wild stuff. We'll take a look at that. And we'll also be going over Halo Studios, as they are currently working to remake Halo Campaign Evolve. That's coming out, we think, in a few months. Turns out there's some other remakes that are in the works, and while it'd be cool, I do still have questions around just the overall studio itself and them tackling this, but we'll go over all that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going over the world of gaming news, trying to keep you up to date. So just know, even if you don't get a notification, there's probably still a video here for you to check out in the morning. And we're going to start today with Marvel Tokon, as 2 new characters were revealed over the weekend, and you can see the trailer here. And they say, led by Captain America and featuring Iron Man, the Fighting Avengers bring 2 new characters into the fight. We have Shuri as Black Panther, they say, wielding her aggressive style and Wakandan weaponry, and Hulk, angrier than ever and ready to smash his opponents. Hulk makes sense. I mean, it'd be really weird if you didn't have Hulk in a game like this. I think about, back in the day with, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Hulk immediately comes to mind. Shuri, though, Black Panther is a good addition. It's just, they're doing a lot, I think, with the character selection to kind of set it apart. Sure, you have Captain America and Iron Man and stuff, but they have some very unexpected characters with the roster here that, yeah, is a little smaller, I guess, on launch, but obviously they're going to be adding to it, I figure, as they go along, since that's a great way for fighting games to monetize beyond that initial sale. But this is a good marketing strategy for them, just slowly revealing new characters as they work towards that August release. And they still have some time now to drop a few more characters, I would say, and I think there's probably 1 or 2 really big surprises as they get towards release. But so far, so good. Marvel Tokon looks awesome. I'm not great at fighting games, but it'll be a lot of fun to watch people who are actually good at them, because the game itself looks great in motion. Also, we have some good news on the retail side for Switch 2 games, as we had previously talked about Walmart matching the physical to digital price. So rather than physical just being $10 more if you walk into Walmart, it's the same with, say, Yoshi. That'll be $60 digital and $60 at Walmart. Amazon is doing the same thing. So if you go on their website and pick out Yoshi or even Splatoon Raiders, you'll see the digital and physical are the same price, with them knocking down, like 14 or 15% for that to even out. And this is kind of what we were hoping to see, where retailers would work to compete against each other, because they do see that digital is cheaper and they just kind of have to eat the cost on this thing. And I still figure they're selling it at cost, just to try to get people in the door, or for Amazon's case, onto their website, because let's face it, you go on Amazon, you're checking out and they're like, oh yeah, do you need this, this, or this? And you tend to throw some other stuff in your cart. My only issue with Amazon are the pre-orders, the same-day delivery for games doesn't always come through. There are many times I've seen where it gets delayed and you end up waiting a few extra days to get the game. But at least here, if you're not too worried about that, you should be able to get physical Switch 2 games from Nintendo that's doing this price variation at the same price as digital. Oh, and here's something fun to keep an eye on as we go into 2026, with the PS4 and the Xbox One still rolling along, at least the PS4, because like you can see now, this is from Alex, who says, hearing that Modern Warfare 4 is currently being play tested on PS4. Now, this is a person who you can follow for all kinds of data mines for Call of Duty and news there. So they are reliable, at least in terms of sourcing for some of this stuff. And it being play testing, that wouldn't surprise me at all. It just surprised me that they would still be trying to get this PS4 to work at the end of 2027. 13 years after the system came out, and Microsoft or Activision still like, I wonder if this would work on that system. So yes, they'll have to play test it as they are doing. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come out, because it might just be in a state where it's like, guys, this actually looks really bad, or it's running really bad. You can't actually release it in that state. We are expecting it to be on the Switch 2 later this year as a version of something Call of Duty apparently is being prepared. So we'll see how that goes. But don't be too surprised, I guess, if the PS4 logo pops up once again for Call of Duty in 2026, just 13 years after the system came out. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with an absolute classic game that many people with a PS2, I'm sure, remember, whether it was the build up to the game or discovering it, going over to a friend's house and seeing it just being this incredible looking game and just a very unique experience. With Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, it's completely leaked online, as in the source code for this game, and that's led to all kinds of conversation as to what we are about to learn around the development and the lead up, and maybe what modders can now do with these files. So let's take a look. This I first saw pop up, and this was from Vinicius over on X, saying Metal Gear Solid 2 source code, that's HD version, just leaked alongside raw uncompressed assets. Yes, it's real. I never thought this would happen. There were a bunch of people posting screen grabs and stuff of the file structure for the source code and stuff they were grabbing off of 4chan, where it seems to be originating from. Again, 4chan being anonymous, it's hard to say exactly who dropped all these files onto the site. Now, there's a very good summary of just kind of the events as they were unfolding here from Metal Gear Network that you can also follow over on X, citing Lance McDonald, just saying the entire source code and all assets for Metal Gear Solid 2 HD just leaked on 4chan. Tied to, they say, the Armature Studios work on the Vita port. I do know Bluepoint also did a lot of work on this as well. Some people were theorizing that the shutdown of Bluepoint, this was them retaliating. I don't know if I'd go that far with it. Even a rogue employee, it seems weird. They'd be like, I'll show them. Let me go ahead and just drop the source code for Metal Gear Solid 2 HD on the internet. That'll show them. But it doesn't seem to just be the HD version from Metal Gear Solid 2. Now, this is coming from the MGN moderator here in Modder, saying it's not just the HD versions in the dump, it's the full source code for the PS2, Xbox, PC versions, everything up to Vita. The original E3 trailer script files are here, the cut tanker water escape sequence, and I saw some people posting like video files of that, like, hey, when are we going to see this? I mean, this might be it. The 9/11 sensor scripting, internal file editors, and tooling, etc. Like, it seems that, yes, there are full assets from the Arsenal Gear Manhattan crash stuff. All that is in there. So yeah, now people are just digging through all these files, because think about what happened with the Giga Leak for Nintendo. It took people legitimately weeks, months even, to go through everything, because there was a lot of stuff, but they were finding some of the craziest like notes that were left by employees, prototypes, just different ideas and mock-ups. There was so much stuff in there, even digging into a lot of the files for the different games and assets, and putting to bed a lot of theories and mysteries around different games. I mean, think about that, but just really compressed down into Metal Gear Solid 2. Maybe just Metal Gear Solid 2 HD again, people are really going through this. But now I'm also curious, as we've seen some games be decompiled, and then from that, when that happens, and it's basically reverse engineering the source code, be able to port it and do all kinds of enhancements and things to the game. Is that something we'll see here with Metal Gear Solid 2? Because that would be incredible if we can get full-on community-released versions of this game, but set up more so for like ray tracing, VR, just overall higher resolution. Think about all the stuff that could be done with Metal Gear Solid 2, even when the modding scene and the cut content maybe being added in. This is very, very interesting to follow along with, especially for someone who's really into Metal Gear Solid, but specifically Metal Gear Solid 2. But even just like the lore and all the build-up and development, there's a lot of stuff here. So keep an eye on this as it unfolds, because it will take time for people to go through a lot of these different files that were dumped online. And I'm curious if we find out anything when it comes to the backstory as to how these files showed up on 4chan randomly. At least they did save it for April 30th. So for once, I'm not going to be someone who spoils stuff, but yes, that is an important date for the Metal Gear Solid lore, especially again in Metal Gear Solid 2, not only for certain characters, but even just full-on background plot detail. So there you go. I guess they saved one of the best drops ever for April 30th, celebrating that with the entire source code for the game. Next up, let's talk about this crazy situation that's been evolving with GameStop and eBay, and it's been rapidly evolving. I actually made a video over the weekend because the whole thing sounded insane. The Wall Street Journal had a report on it, but we didn't necessarily have like outright confirmation, nothing really official. Just the idea that, hey, GameStop is looking at eBay and they're thinking about buying them, which didn't make a lot of sense to anyone because eBay is about 4 times the size as GameStop, but somebody knew something because the stock prices surged on Friday, and actually they're surging right now as well, that I was seeing in some overnight trading, because a full proposal was made as I was recording. So I had to go back and re-record this because, yeah, technically it's official now. So we'll start where I was going to here originally with Wall Street Journal, as they put this piece out just ahead of the official release for the proposal. They say GameStop chief executive Ryan Cohen said he was making an unsolicited offer to buy eBay for about $56 billion and saw a path to make the e-commerce company a much bigger competitor to Amazon.com. Cohen told the Wall Street Journal that GameStop has built a roughly 5% stake in eBay and was offering $125 a share in cash and stock, a roughly 20% premium to its closing price on Friday, $125. So in order to make all this happen, one part, of course, it needs some capital. And while GameStop has apparently about $9 billion or so just in the bank, and that was off of like the meme stock craze, and GameStop kind of sold into that and diluted their shares and stuff. But either way, Cohen said he has a commitment letter from TD Bank to provide around $20 billion in debt financing to help make a deal possible. And as I mentioned, we have the official proposal here that was posted over on their investor GameStop.com website. They say GameStop Corp today submitted a non-binding proposal to acquire 100% of eBay at $125 per share in cash and stock. By the way, I think that comes out to, people were doing the math, about $56 billion is what that ends up being, at least in the paper amount, or the amount that they show. They say in cash and stock, and they actually kind of write it out how they would do that. They say the offer represents a 46% premium to eBay's unaffected closing price on February 4th, 2026, the day GameStop started accumulating its position in eBay, basically saying, hey, we actually moved the market for eBay quite a bit. That's why the stock maybe is up more so than it should be, because we have 5% at this point in what we've built into eBay. And I mean, that's kind of a way just to show that they are serious by buying in. 5% is pretty substantial for a company that's worth more than their market capitalization, more than $40 billion. Not a little bit of money, you know, they're throwing around here. Now they say the $125 per share comprising 50% cash and 50% GameStop common stock. So it's interesting that they're going to use 50% stock. That I don't know if eBay stockholders are like, yes, finally we get the GameStop stock and stuff, but they're going to work that out, I guess. And that's the thing. It's a big number on paper, but there are ways that they can kind of finesse that a bit. And one of the ways that they're trying to float this, because you have to convince eBay investors and eBay corporate stuff why this is a good idea. They are just flat out saying that eBay is kind of just wasting money. Like they say, they spent $2.4 billion on sales and marketing the past fiscal year, and all they did was increase from 134 million users to 135 million users. That's it. As they say, GameStop's able to deliver a pretty substantial cost reduction. They go over how they do that. And I think we've seen enough acquisitions to understand what cost reduction really means. And so if GameStop were able to buy eBay, yeah, a bunch of layoffs would follow. Like, that's how they would cut costs. Now, they are saying that, hey, one of the ways that we can make this work is we would grow eBay into a giant. They're saying they'd stand next to Amazon, which is crazy to think, because that would be substantially more valuable than the $56 billion they'd be paying out for here. And apparently, that's according to Ryan Cohen, he can make that happen by being in charge of the whole thing. Now, says that if eBay Corp is like, nah, we're good, we're going to pass on this, that he would then also go straight to the investors or stockholders to see what they think. So he seems very serious about this. And I think it's mostly, in his mind, like a way to jump GameStop 10 years forward, basically, in like this fast, like basically doing a transaction, if you will. And because he wants GameStop to be more leaning on the e-commerce side, as that's where he, one, has a lot of experience with things like Chewy, but two, sees like the market itself heading towards. But also, if you're eBay, you do get like 1,600 stores nationally. So you do have a brick and mortar aspect to your business that maybe for intake or even just selling things. So that is another wrinkle that I'm sure can be added in. But this is Fascinating stuff to follow. GameStop, a much smaller company looking to buy eBay by, yes, a lot of leverage with financing, but what would that do to GameStop? And then more importantly, what would that do to eBay? A lot of questions, and I guess now we have to see how eBay will respond, and something tells me we'll see the stock market respond today. Both of these, I'm sure, GameStop and eBay stocks will probably be up through the roof. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Halo Studios and a couple of remakes that they are apparently working on alongside of the Halo campaign Evolve that we're waiting for the release date. The word is it's coming out sometime in July. Okay, so we can see. Now this is over on VGC. They're citing Rebs Gaming in his latest video. I'll have both the article and the video linked down below in the sources, where Rebs Gaming says, one of my new sources sent me proof to verify themselves and confirm that the Halo 2 and Halo 3 remakes are definitely happening. Active development is underway. They are in early development. VGC says it's believed that Halo Studios is also working on a new multiplayer project and the next mainline Halo game in addition to the remake. So they have 4 projects outside of Campaign Evolve. You include that, even though it's getting pretty close to the finish line. 5 different projects that are underway at Halo Studios. And we hear about how it is crazy to think they have that many things, like those many things they're working on right now. But then they also have all these issues apparently in terms of just the day-to-day operation of the studio. So I don't know, but for this right now, with 2 and 3 getting remade, 2, okay, sure. I mean, Halo 1 and 2, I get it. Halo 3 is the one that's needed the remake for a while. I mean, look, Halo 2 already had its remake treatment and then they kind of stopped, didn't go on to 3. 3 is an awesome game. I mean, I have a lot of nostalgia for 1, but if I had to pick, it's like, what is your favorite Halo game out of all of them? It's Halo 3. So I would love to see the remake treatment for Halo 3. But I do also still have concerns around Halo Studios, them leaning on things like Unreal Engine, and I have to see how Campaign Evolve turns out first before I get really excited for the idea that Halo 3 would be getting remade. But I mean, hey, they seem to have a roadmap, at least internally, of a bunch of Halo games coming out. I feel like almost yearly or bi-yearly then, with these many projects being in the works, leading up to a big mainline Halo game. So at least it's a way for, if all these games are going to PlayStation, for PlayStation owners to kind of get caught up on, well, I mean, just frankly, the good Halo games. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, do you buy video games on Amazon? Okay, 51% say no, I don't buy games on Amazon. 44% say yes, I buy games there a couple times a year. And then 5% say yes, I buy games there at least once a month, which I would assume those are the people who are buying and pre-ordering like brand new games when they're coming out day one. I don't really do that much because I've noticed in the past, Amazon's been kind of slipping from their same day delivery on brand new games. But I absolutely do use Amazon for games that have been out for a little while, like older games, you know, especially around Cyber Monday, which we go over sales for that all the time, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Man, you can load up a cart for Amazon and get 5 or 6 games, like new sealed physical games for $80 to $100. That is a great time to really take advantage of Prime shipping with Amazon. And then occasionally you'll see the Wario 64 special get thrown around where a game's marked down 70% for some reason. It's like, well, hey, $15 and I can put this on the shelf and get to it someday and build up that backlog. But that's sort of how I'm viewing Amazon right now. But I'm curious if people look at them a bit more as we see these physical Switch 2 games get the treatment of the digital price. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Travis, who says, that is literally what gaming was like back before the internet. If I visited a friend's house and we got together and played Mario Kart or Smash Brothers or any multiplayer game on the N64, I was motivated to buy my own N64 so that if I could do the same thing with my family and friends, which is exactly what got me a Nintendo in the first place. Word of mouth back in the day was everything. I mean, the internet now, there's obviously still word of mouth. People will share stuff and post it around, and that's cool, but that's digital word of mouth now. Back then, it was like literally face-to-face word of mouth. You experience the thing, and then you tell your friends about it, then they may come over and check it out as well, whether you're renting a game, or your brother got a system, or maybe you go over to your cousin's house, and it's like, oh wow, they have the new N64, let's check it out. And then you like berate your parents about it for Christmas, you know, the next year or something. So there was a very strong presence of word of mouth back then. Absolutely. And it wasn't even just like a game. It was also the system. Like seeing the original PlayStation for the first time at a friend's house, I was fascinated with this thing because it was taking CDs. But you know what was really cool about it? It was taking those CDs that had like the black bottom to it. I had never seen a CD like that ever. It was always like the standard, like, I don't know, like shiny, like clear crystal look to them. But the black bottom CDs, and apparently that was a whole marketing thing on its own where they put dye into it so it looked different. That worked because I was just like amazed by it, and that eventually led me to say, hey, yeah, I want to get a PS1. Yes, sure, because of the library of games, but man, the black bottom discs just looked really, really cool. And then, you know, there was Tokon Pro Skater 2 and Final Fantasy 7, so that was nice to have. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit a dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed last week's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card, or maybe you want to check out the PlayStation Vita and how it's still getting games from the community in 2026, and they're pretty impressive. I did a video about that over the weekend, and I'll leave it right below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.